Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC. We're here each and every Friday. 30 minutes of sports content that is nothing but Cleveland-based. I'm Jay Crawford. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, does the pitch clock in baseball have anything to do with the incredible increase in elbow injuries amongst pitchers? We'll get into that.
I'm Earl the Pearl. Hi, Grandma. I tell you who's the most underrated player on the Cleveland Browns.
Hey, listen, I'm G. Bush, leader of the Kool-Aid Mafia, and I'm going to tell you why these helmets are terrible that we designed, and I had nothing to do with it. Mikey McNuggets.
We asked you to send one in. He did not, so he's getting Bull's terrible helmet.
So he's going to stomp all over ours.
He's going to stomp on ours because G did not do the assignment. Also coming up in the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about the Cavs-Pacers game tonight. It could be a potential playoff matchup, so do you show your full hand? Do you play it safe? You need to win. How should J.B. Bickerstaff and his half handle that upcoming situation? But we start today with some baseball, Jay.
Yeah, we do. And by the way, I love that you said hi to Grandma. Is that because she doesn't watch it when it's streamed, but she can watch when it's on Channel 3?
Bingo.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Shout out to you, Grandma. Okay, this is going to be talked about moving forward as we continue to see more and more injuries amongst pitchers. Obviously, Shane Bieber tearing up his elbow. He'll need Tommy John surgery. Last year, he also had a sore elbow. So did Tristan McKenzie. The number of players that have suffered arm injuries, particularly elbow, is through the roof. Do we think that the pitch clock has anything to do with that, the fact that the pitchers are just working on a much faster basis?
I think so. I think when you look at the pitch clock, this is the second year of it being in its existence, and I think you're still in that trial and error. You're still gathering research on the pitch clock, and you're going to make the proper adjustments as you continue to go along. I think with the pitch clock, we've seen pitchers pitch harder. We've seen pitchers pitch better, but we've also seen pitchers get hurt more, right? Because pitchers are used to having, 20, 30 seconds in between pitches to kind of
in the old days, whatever they needed.
Whatever they needed. That's not the case anymore. So, yeah, with the velocity going up and the pitching being more of quality, you're also seeing more injuries because it seems like they're rushing through their rotation or whatever their routine is, and it's hurting them in the long run.
G, what do you think?
Listen, you know better than anybody else, and I've had a lot of injuries, surgeries, ACLs, and you've had surgery on elbows and shoulders and things. Ligaments, you can't strengthen a ligament. Ligaments, they have a certain amount of torque and a certain amount of pressure they can be upon and before they tear. So you can strengthen the muscles around them, but ligaments don't get stronger. And when you look at people now and you look at some of these pitching videos, and I send some back on our chats all the time, they teach this maximum effort. They teach throwing the baseball as hard as you can. They teach you to raise your velocity, the spin rate, all those different things. And then you mix it in with the fact that you're throwing a ball 100 miles an hour every 15 seconds. That has something to do with it. I think we're kind of reaching the evolution where you're at the high, threshold of what a human body can take.
Yeah.
And I just think, once you get up to around 100 miles an hour consistently, it's tough to figure out how to minimize injuries throwing the ball that fast.
It's an interesting question. I wish I had a definitive answer. I don't know that anybody does. But I will say this. Imagine you're standing in front of a heavy bag and you punch it as hard as you can. And I don't mean just like a 6-inch jab. I mean you pull back and you punch it as hard as you can. And I tell you now, do that 100 times and just rest 15 seconds between each punch. Now, you do get the inning breaks where you're sitting down, but even if it's 15 times, 6 times in a row. Mm-hmm. So you punch it 15 times, 20 times, then you sit down for 10 minutes, then you come up and you do it again. At some point, fatigue is going to become a factor. So I wish that we didn't have the pitch clock because then it becomes the control in the experiment. One of the things that I think is contributing, two things. in the last 5 to 10 years, spin rate has become a buzzword in baseball, a buzz term. Everybody's counting rotation, and guys are doing whatever they can to increase their spin rate. Well, how do you spin a baseball? When you apply pressure to one side at the delivery point. To apply pressure on one side, you're turning your arm to do that. What is affected most by the turning of your wrist? Your elbow. Mm-hmm. Also, velocity has become such a commodity in baseball. It used to be that if guys were considered fireballers if they were in the low 90s. If you were in the mid to high 90s, you were Nolan Ryan. You were a freak. Not anymore. If you don't throw low 90s now, good luck. You better have 3 A-plus pitches. Tom Glavine would never have been scouted today.
Wow.
Or Greg Maddux never would have been scouted today because he just didn't throw that way. And he said oftentimes after his career, I could have thrown hard if I wanted to, but pitching isn't about throwing hard. It's about hitting spots and ball shape, what you do with the baseball. So I just think that the game has moved on to velocity is key, and that's why we're seeing more injuries. Guys are trying to throw high 90s, and we're seeing more injuries.
I got a question. I don't know the pitcher's name in Atlanta, but I know their ace in Atlanta. He got hurt. You know, Garrett Cole in New York. You got Shane Bieber here, right? In MLB, these star pitchers are like star quarterbacks in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Eventually, Jay, I think we're going to start seeing tweaks to this pitch clock, tweaks to some of these rules, because you can't have guys like Shane Bieber and Garrett Cole missing time like this when they're marquee players in the game.
You absolutely cannot. And it's right now, it's a sign of the times. We're seeing a lot of injuries, and somebody's going to have to do a deep dive and figure out exactly why these injuries are happening, but they're definitely happening at an increased rate. All right, let's talk about the right field position for the Cleveland Guardians. It wasn't long ago we thought, well, that's Oscar Gonzalez, and it's going to be Oscar Gonzalez for 10 years.
Wow.
And he flamed out last year, and he didn't last for the Guardians. And now it's kind of like Will Brennan, but they're also trying to see if Ramon Laureano can take that position, and also Estevan Florial, who is highly regarded in this organization as a guy who's next. But none of them are having great success. Will Brennan has so far had the most opportunity, and he's put up the best numbers. But what do you think the Guardians need to do at right field right now?
This is the plan. They want somebody to jump up and take it, right? They want somebody, if Will Brennan can come up and give us some power numbers and hit a few home runs and put some stuff together, I think that they will be much more inclined to give him that role. But, you know, what they said earlier this season, they want to see what the young guys have. They want to see guys fight it out for these positions. And I think you're going to see this pretty much to the All-Star break. I think they're going to give all these guys an opportunity, as long as they're winning, to keep platooning and doing their thing, switching in and out to see what the best move is. 9-3 right now, but if they get to 3 or 4 weeks into the season, 4 or 5 more weeks in the season, and they start to slide a little bit, I think they'll be more apt to say, okay, let's put a guy in there, give him all the bats, all the opportunity to take the position. But as long as they're winning, I think Stephen Vogt wants to give everybody ample opportunity to see who's really going to grab the position.
I'm going to just shake it up a little bit as a casual baseball fan. I know the Guardians have a lot of high-level infield prospects in their minor league system. If don't nobody step up and take over this right field position and the Guardians continue to win, I expect Chris Antonetti to take some of those infield prospects and trade those off and get you a quality outfielder.
Yeah, that's also an opportunity. They've got some guys down in the minor leagues that they think will be major league ready very soon. They're going to keep a close eye on a couple of those guys to see what they're doing in AAA and in AA. So that always is a possibility, bringing someone up. But it's interesting. The word platoon to Stephen Vogt is a bad word. He doesn't like it. What he loves doing is getting guys at bats, and I think he's done a great job of doing that so far. He's playing 3 different right fielders, but I believe Brennan has played in the most games, 10 or 11.
He has more hits than the other two combined.
And he has more hits, but he also has more at-bats considerably. But, these guys are getting at-bats, and that's good that he's been able to do that. To your point, and it's a good one, when the losses start piling up, and there's a lack of production from that slot in the lineup, it's going to become more of an issue. Right now, they're getting by with it. They're winning. But they're going into a series tonight with the Yankees. That's going to be a much different test than they've had so far. Even with Seattle and Minnesota, they're not the Yankees. So let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But I agree with you. I think by the All-Star break, whether it's by trade or calling someone up, they've got to do something with that position, and they've got to get some regular production out of right field. All right, let's turn pages and talk about the Cleveland Browns. Every team has to have unsung heroes. And I think there are a lot of guys on this team that are underrated. Who is the most underrated member of this Cleveland Browns team?
Man, this is tough to say. I think he's underrated, but he had a breakout year. I think JOK is underrated. I think JOK had a year that when you look back at it, and you look at the amount of tackles for loss that he had, and you look at the way he ended his season, right? Take a look at what he did against the Houston Texans. He was the best defensive player on the field, and that goes for Myles Garrett. I think he played the best game of his season, that game specifically when nobody else really showed up. I think JOK is underrated because we talked about him possibly being cut the year before or a guy that was a bust. The jump that he made from year I believe it's year 2 to year 3, and the jump that I'm expecting for him to have with another year and Jim Schwartz's defense, I think JOK is a guy that's going to be underrated, and I think he's a guy who can be a Pro Bowler or All-Pro candidate this year if he takes that other step.
Anybody that knows if you play in Jim Short's defensive scheme and you're a defensive lineman, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be rotated in and out a lot. I think the most underrated player on the Cleveland Browns is Ogbo Okonkwo. This is a dude who had 12 tackles for loss, 10 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 8 QB hits. You see the numbers. When he wasn't there, you can tell his presence was missed. When he was there, he made a major impact. Jay, I know you are a guy that PFF is dead to you.
Oh, yeah.
But check this out. Out of 112 qualifying edge rushers, he finished 60th with a 65.4 PFF.
Wow.
Why is that impressive? There are 64 starting edge rushers in the NFL, and he finished 60th, and he's a rotational guy. So for me, Ogbo is the most underrated player on the Cleveland
That's interesting.
Browns.
I wouldn't have thought that he was rated that highly on PFF. Now, as you appropriately said, PFF is dead to me.
You canceled your subscription before it started.
Yeah, I never had a subscription, and I never will. I've seen enough in numbers that are so head-scratching, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. And I've also talked to enough players that say the same thing. They look at them and say, they think they know what our assignment is, and they're wrong. So if you're going on the premise that I think I know what this player was supposed to do, you're starting blindfolded to begin with. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've got somebody, I'm surprised one of you guys didn't have him. I'm going with DeJuan Jones. I think this guy is going to be a plug-and-play bookend, whether it's right tackle or left tackle, for the next 10 years. His size is absolutely astounding. Like, he's just – and all these guys are big. So for him to tower over other guys is shocking that he's that much bigger. But he is – and he had a learning curve last year for sure, and things didn't start well for him. Remember, his first practice, he was vomiting on the field, and there were folks that were saying this guy's not taking it seriously. He didn't show up ready to go. He came from a blue-chip program. He should have been ready, but he did nothing but impress me when he was on the field. And whether or not it's switching him to become the left tackle if Jed Wills doesn't get an extension and doesn't work out after this year, or he's just a stalwart and a mainstay at the right tackle. I love this kid, and I think he's here for a while.
Oh, yeah, he's starting. I don't know if they know it. Ain't no moving him around. He's starting. Jed Wills and Conklin got to figure the other position out. I got him penciled in the starter.
And you might argue that was probably the best pick of the Andrew Berry tenure.
Right now it looks like it is. Yeah. Now, JOK
better than Emerson?
Your JOK was great. Yeah, but where was Jones selected?
4th round, Emerson was 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, if you draft a guy in the 4th round and you have him for 10 years, now that's a big projection, but that's a hit. Emerson was a big hit too.
Yeah.
But I like JOK. I think all 3 of these guys are underrated. And it's good news that the Browns have a lot of stars, and they also have a lot of guys that could be in that underrated category.
I want to chime in one guy we missed. I want to give a shout out to Ethan Pocic, another guy in the offensive line who is a stalwart in the center.
Underrated.
Does not get the credit he deserves.
Underrated.
He's flanked by 2 all-pro guards with Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio. But I think Ethan Pocic, when he's out, you feel it. And I think this year we really did feel how important he was to the impact of this offense.
Here's how I would classify Ethan Pocic, because I think now Pocic is kind of a guy that we all know is a Pro Bowl caliber player. What I would say about him is I would put him with Amari Cooper in the category of best deal in this 10 years history.
Yeah.
Because Amari Cooper, we just fleeced Dallas.
Yeah.
And we picked up Pochich, who was a free agent, and
Because what? Nick Harris went down first
Nick Harris
snap of
went
the
down.
preseason?
So we just picked him up as he's going to have to be the guy that slides in there, but he's done a terrific job. All right, we're taking our first break. When we come back, the Cleveland Cavaliers have 2 games left in the regular season. They have a huge one tonight against the Indiana Pacers. It's huge because they could see them in the playoffs. So, do you go all in to win, or do you hold your hand for a future series? That's next. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Time to talk Cleveland Cavaliers. Man, go back to where we were with this team right after the first of the year when they went on that 18-2 run. One of the best stretches of 20 games in Cleveland Cavaliers basketball history. Mm-hmm. And where they are now, which is fighting for a playoff spot. They know they're going to make the playoffs, but they could be as far down as a 7, which means they would have to win a play-in game to get a first-round series. They could also finish as high as a 2. That's how tight things are in the East. They play the Pacers tonight. Mm-hmm. Big because there's a real possibility they end up seeing the Pacers in the first round of the playoffs. How do you approach it?
Well, they better go out there and play basketball. Like to denote that they have the opportunity to just sit around and say, we're not going to show you what we got. I don't think you got anything. Look, you better go out. What hand? Listen. Listen. We got a couple pair in a poker game. You better go out there and play your tails off, play with some energy and effort, and get a win because that's what you need. You do not want to be in a play-in game for a couple of reasons. One reason is you might actually take an L in the play-in game.
That's like a Game 5 or a Game 7.
Yeah, what are you talking about? These guys gonna play hard, and the fact that you've gone from at the All-Star break with almost the second or third best record in the entire league to now you're in the play-in game is demoralizing, and you don't even want to be in that position because guys can actually fold it up and pack it in.
Earl,
yeah, I don't know.
What you got?
You know the old saying, man, I'm out here playing chess, not checkers? Well, the Cavs need to be playing checkers, not chess. You say chess for the teams like the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, right? The Cavaliers currently is the 4th seed, fighting like crazy to hold on to home court advantage, going against a team that more likely you will see in the playoffs. I think you got to show your hand now. And I think it'll do a lot to restore energy and faith in the fan base, but also in themselves, right? Because you want to go into the playoffs on a high note. You want to go out there against a quality team. You want to play well, and you definitely want to win. So you can't afford to sit back and play the what-if game. You got to secure that home court advantage. You got to get yourself internally ready to go. The season is over Sunday, right? Then it's go time for real. So you can't afford to sit back and not show your hand. You got to go out there and play hard.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. They don't have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
This team is taking a major step back from last year. And in the NBA, it's all about progression. 2 years ago, they made the play-in, they lost. So they didn't really technically get a playoff series.
Yep.
Last year, they made the playoffs. They were a 4 seed after winning 52 games, and they got bounced by a Knicks team that was just better prepared for the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So if you want to continue that progression, this year means to stay up with that clock, you got to win the first round series and you got to compete in the second round series. So this nonsense of like, well, we're not going to show them what we do. Guess what? What do they do?
I
don't think they know.
Yeah.
I don't think they know.
No.
So win the game, play this game like it is a playoff game. And here's why. You also want to send a message to the Pacers. You want to win by 25 points so they know what's coming for them if they do see us in the playoffs. If they mess around and lose this game and end up in the 5, 6, 7, 8, it's going to be a rough offseason at the Cavs facility. Because I don't know how these guys can survive the offseason. JB and even go up to Kobe. I don't know how they survive the offseason if it's another one and done.
Yeah, they don't survive the offseason if it's another one and done.
I can't see they do.
And I think all of us hope that Donovan Mitchell is quote-unquote healthy enough that the Cavaliers can actually get through the first round of the playoffs. And one last thing, in the last 5 games, I know we've been beating up on Darius Garland a lot. He's averaging 18.7 assists, shooting 38% from 3 over his last 5 games. The Cavs are +4 with him on the court. Evan Mobley, 16 points, 7.4 rebounds a game. Cavs are +8 with him on the court. Jared Allen, 7.2, 9.8 rebounds, Cavs are +8. If Donovan Mitchell is healthy enough, and they can use this game as a staple to play well and get themselves ready to go, that might strike a chord within the Cleveland Cavaliers fan base.
The other thing, we mentioned the changes that could happen in both the coach and the general manager. Donovan Mitchell's watching all this.
Yeah, he is.
And if they end up a play-in team and lose,
Yeah.
I don't see any chance that he wants to come back to this next year. None.
He went into the All-Star break as the number 2 seed.
Unbelievable.
So.
What a fall. It's like we Philadelphia Eagles ourselves.
Yeah.
This is what the Eagles did in the regular season. All right, Mike.
A lot of changes coming if it does not end well for the Cavs in the postseason. Speaking of changes, we don't just have a 2-hour YouTube show Monday through Friday. We also have a series of individualized team-specific content every Monday and Friday. G. Bush is with you on the Ultimate Brown Show, 30 minutes of Browns coverage. That is every Friday. On Tuesdays, myself and Jason Lloyd are talking Cavs on the Ultimate Cavs Show on Thursday. Earl the Pearl has his Ultimate 216 show. It is a sports lifestyle mix-up. And every Monday, except it's not every Monday because this week it's on Tuesday, the Ultimate Guardian Show with Adam the Bull and Zach Meisel. That's coming to you guys on Tuesday. So make sure you guys tune into all the extra Ultimate shows outside of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show whenever you get a chance.
It really has become the Ultimate Cleveland Sports channel.
Yeah.
Man, this thing has grown in less than 2 years.
We got everything you need.
We
One-stop
say thanks
shop.
to you for that. All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, the league has approved a third helmet beginning in the 2025 season. We decided to design what that third helmet should look like, and we unveil. It's our world premiere of Helmet 3 for the Browns when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show comes right back. We like to consider ourselves on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show as the uniform police. We talk about uniforms all the time, and the sheriff of the uniform police is G. And unfortunately, he did not participate in this exercise because he didn't want to be ridiculed. But he is going to show us what Bull decided for a third alternative helmet. Because remember, last year they added the white as the alternative. So what is your third alternative helmet?
All right, and you can quote me on this, man. Swag is everything. My third alternative helmet is a shout out to the 80s, right? It's a brown helmet with the scripted Cleveland Browns on it. See, here's the thing, Jay. In the 80s, 3 things happened, right? I was born, Michael Jordan was hot, and the Browns was really, really good. So why not go back to the 80s and show some love? We got the orange helmet. Right. We got the white helmet. I'm going with the Browns helmet.
You know what I thought you were going to go with? All the helmets should have dreads tied to the back of the helmet. That would be cool. The Cleveland Earls. The Cleveland Earls. All right, here's mine. I also went with brown, but I'm going to stick closer to tradition. And I want the brown helmet, but I want the orange and white stripe. And also, I'm just now thinking about this, but I'm going to throw this out there. In the 60s, the Browns put their numbers on the side of the helmet. I want white numbers on the sides of all the helmets.
I like that.
I think that could work.
like that. That's fly.
Okay, now you're giving us bulls, but you're mostly giving us critique.
Yeah, let me see. Let's knock this out. Let's see what we got here.
What
Come
did
on,
Bull
Adam
put
the
in?
Bull. What did you put in, Bull?
Bull.
Bro,
What is that?
He wanted an angry elf on a weird colored helmet.
That looks like an alien, I'm not going to lie.
I like a super gremlin.
That looked like a nasty box of Lucky Charms, bro. Like that is trash. Well, why is it all copper? Why that look like that's the nickel flavored color, bro.
That is the creepiest design I've ever seen, I'm not going to lie.
Like that's the stuff people hide and be like, Mommy, there's something under my bed.
All right, so we know which one's not going to win a fan vote.
All
right,
this is mine.
Nugget.
We saw the Indians change to the Guardians. Well, let's kind of play off that. I want a Guardian holding up a Polish boy to the gods. This is what I want on the side of the helmet.
We've gone
Miles
off the
Garrett's
deep end.
arms holding up a Polish boy coming off the Guardian. And Ant was supposed to present his.
Bro.
He is currently not here, but this was Ant's. He wants the suburbs edition of
boy, that'll strike fear into the opponents. Big helmets.
You have a grown man holding a giant Polish boy.
Wait. No, let's go back to Ants. Let's go to the more important thing. Hey, so Mike, is this the Parma Peacocks?
I did not make this helmet. I wish Ant was here to present, but he ran off to the bathroom.
But they're going to Brook Park if they go anywhere.
What?
Not according to Ant. This is also, Ant spent so much time on this graphic.
He did.
He doesn't do put this effort in for anything.
Because it was his.
Man,
Because
y'all,
it's his, yes.
y'all,
27 minutes.
y'all is the kids. Y'all is the kids in elementary school where they be like, art is in the heart of the beholder.
Who
no.
gets your vote? What helmet we going with of the ones we presented?
Hey man, give me J's, man. Give me J's, man. Y'all cats, man. I would have did yours, but they had a weird cursive writing. It was weird. Like,
See you Monday. Have a great weekend.
peace.